Hello everybody, you're all very welcome to everyone's favourite afternoon event, the launch of a report from an NGO. We love it, we love it. My name is Shane, I'm going to be your MC for this afternoon. We'll keep it brief, I was told to keep it light, which is good because I'm actually a comedian. A gay one though. Yeah, Douglas, I can be a gay comedian. That's actually got called Roll Farley, but he's not here, so I'm next in line. No, it is an absolute pleasure to be here and doing this. And as a comedian, it's funny for me to be working in the daytime. Generally, I work at the night time, and most of the room, it can be kind of lonely as a queer comedian because, you're generally the only queer on the lineup, and, most of the audience are 95% straight, so it's kind of isolating. But I use it to my advantage because all you have to do is just throw in a bit of camp, and they love it. Just be like, oh, honey, and they're like, girl, whatever. So, you can see it even works here, so that's great. It's very high pressure to be a great comedian for a queer audience. But it's nice to see so many queer faces. So listen, we are also celebrating, as well as the Long Show Now report, we are celebrating 10 wonderful years of ShoutOut. 10 years of anything is pretty good going. 10 years of anything is pretty good. And I was thinking about my own schooling, and I was like, obviously I'm very young, as you can see, apart from my hairline, but apart from that, very youthful. But I'm old enough to remember when I was at school, they were teaching, there wasn't one single positive affirmation or single positive mention of your sexuality or your gender identity or any of the things that ShoutOut work on today. And they told us in FHE, during that class, social and personal health education, all boys school, they said, if you ever have that funny feeling when you think about another boy, that doesn't mean you fancy him or anything like that. It just means that you admire him. You want to be like him. I was delighted. I was like thinking I was gay. Sir, I admire the whole class. Anyway, listen, we'll press on, and I'm delighted to welcome. This is my second time introducing the minister this year. It's so glamorous. But Catherine Martin had a more exciting dress than you, so she always does. She turns it out. Around the Greens, I've always said that. So, listen, no, Minister with a very stacked portfolio. The Minister for Children, Equality, Diversity, Disability, Integration and Youth, and more importantly, he's one of our own. He's Minister Roderick O'Gorman.
Volunteers, human stance, coded notions of workplace, respect and the like. So we won't go there. But look, I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to launch the ShoutOut's 2022 annual report, and in particular to be here today for the 10th anniversary of this absolutely fantastic organisation. And much has been accomplished in those 10 years, and much of that has been accomplished through the work and the commitment of ShoutOut. And in 2012, the year ShoutOut started, the landscape in Ireland, of course, looked so much different as it does today for the LGBTI community. Ireland has not yet had the monumental marriage equality referendum, which, as we know, and we'll never stop telling people, led Ireland to be the first country in the world to legislate same-sex marriage by a popular vote. Protections for transgendered persons were not enshrined in gender recognition legislation as they are today. And we also did not have the first national LGBTI plus youth strategy in the world, for Ireland's first national LGBTI plus inclusion strategy. It was in that context that ShoutOut began its work, and in particular asking really important questions like, why is school so difficult for us? What can we do and what can we do about it? And it's in this case referring to a group of LGBTIQ plus friends in college, their experience of bullying, their experience of exclusion within secondary schools. And I think it's this question that's very much guided the work of ShoutOut over the last 10 years. And as we've seen across that period, it has evolved into a strong and thriving organisation promoting inclusion in schools and in education, particularly through the LGBTIQ plus educational program that's delivered in schools, workplaces, in youth clubs, in sporting associations, and in community settings as well. And just reflecting on the musings about times in school, I know for myself there was absolutely no chance that I would have come out in school. I told one person at school, and we had a code for it. We couldn't actually say that I'm gay. It was a long story, so I won't get into it. But just referring to things teachers said, I did home economics, and I very much enjoyed my home economics class. I could make a shirt and a curry, and I learned which was fantastic. But my home economics teacher had certainly niche views on the causes of homosexuality. She attributed it to too much sweets and coke as a child, which caused a hormonal imbalance in people, and that's how they were gay. And I remember, it's funny, I had no notion myself at this stage, but I do remember a girl in my class, she put up her hand and be like, "Miss, that's not really a nice thing to say." And I remember thinking, she's very brave to confront the teacher like that. But it's just, I suppose, as I say, the experience of school for so many of us. I didn't have it in terms of, I wasn't out of school, but I just decided, made a call, no, not happening, go to college, let's let people know then. And it didn't have a massively negative impact on my schooling, but at the same time, I had a secret, and I knew it had to stay a secret, and I knew that if it ever got out, it would entirely change my day-to-day experience in schools, and I think that has been a reality for so many LGBTI plus people in Ireland. And I remember going to school, to my secondary school, maybe about 5 years later, and I remember seeing that poster, and I'm not sure if it's spun out or if it belonged to the "He's gay and I'm okay with that" poster, and it was there just in one of the kind of the rec rooms at school, and it's just the rainbow flag. And it's actually it's a rainbow flag in King's Hospital, that is just unheard of. So that's just, I think it is important though to reflect what was happening in Ireland 20 years ago in schools, and important to recognise the amazing work that has taken place. But it's organisations like ShoutOut, it's the work that you have been doing that has been at the absolute tip, at the absolute core of that change in our schools. I think that is something that's so important, and as we celebrate 10 years of being in existence, I think it's something that you as an organisation can be immensely proud of. As we know, we have had great changes, great improvements in our society over the last number of years, but I'm always very conscious to remember two things. First of all, progress can be reversed. And we see that. We see it in Poland, we see it in Hungary, we see it in large parts of the United States, we see it in some ways even in the United Kingdom. And I always think to be a gay Pole or a gay Hungarian, to actually see your rights reversed in your own life, to have kind of gone both ways, to have gone forward and then to go back, it has to be an incredibly disturbing experience. And even in our own country, we know the last year we've seen increases of attacks on our streets. We've seen the anti-trans dialogue on social media, and seeping out into the mainstream. And of course, we've seen the brutal murders in Sligo. So it's absolutely essential that we are never complacent. And when some wit often asks, why do you need pride anymore, blah, 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 I think it is so important to remember what we got, what we could lose, and what we still need to fight for as a community. And that's why, just in particular, I think it's really important to note last week the publication of the hate crime legislation. I know that's something so many of us across the community have been waiting for a long time, for far too long. But I think it is a really strong piece of legislation in terms of recognising hate that our community experiences, that the traveller community experiences, that Black and mixed race Irish men and women experience, the person with a disability, across all of the 9 protected characteristics. It's so important that legislation is passed, and in order to recognise the work that's been done across government, particularly by Minister McAtee in this regard. As you know, as Minister, I oversee both the LGBTI plus youth strategy and the national LGBTI plus inclusion strategy. We had a meeting of the steering committee of the inclusion strategy yesterday, and to give everyone a familiar basis from that, we'll be looking to extend that for another 6 months to complete some of the actions that have been delayed because of COVID. But we're also now looking on the formulation of the successor strategy, and we're looking in particular about how that strategy interacts with the other equality strategies that are falling in the remit by the department. The ITRIS, the travel and role inclusion strategy, the migrant integration strategy, the national strategy and the national strategy for women and girls. We're doing a piece of work particularly kind of focusing on that intersectional element, because I think that is one of the areas that we have all these strategies, and sometimes they're all trundling along on their own path without recognising there is huge work to be done in terms of intersectionality and targeting and giving targeted support to some of the most vulnerable within our vulnerable minority groups. So really pleased for the opportunity to be here. It's a really important day for the organisation. 10 years of achieving real change in Ireland, 10 years for making life better for young people in schools, and that's something to be incredibly proud of. Thank you.
All those exciting things and strategies going on, but I can't stop wondering what the secret code was. A good setup to the punchline. Intriguing. Most of my codes are like, visual thinker. Now, so most of the work of ShoutOut happens not just by people who type these reports and work in offices and send emails. There's also a huge, giant team of volunteers. Classic for the queer community. We're a great spirit of volunteerism across our community. And we're joined by one of the volunteers to tell us about their experience. So I'm very pleased to welcome Kate Duna.
Deliver tours there, and it's usually just talking really loudly instead. It's nice to get to see my voice right. So yeah, I was asked to mostly talk about why I volunteered for ShoutOut, and I was trying to figure out what the timeline was in me joining as a volunteer, and I realised it was in 2018 when one of my colleagues sent me a link to teacher training for ShoutOut. And I work in the education department in the National Gallery, so a lot of the times we sort of sneak on teacher training courses, mostly to find out if we can offer any support through the gallery for teachers. I had just started running LGBT programming in the gallery, so this was like a really cool hybrid. And while I was very sneaky sitting in on that training, I realised that actually it would be really fun workshops to deliver. And also at the time, my job was sort of shifted to less tours and more admin, and I missed the public speaking, so this was perfect. I also, in case you can't already tell, absolutely love talking about gay stuff. So much joy. So this was like perfect, just trifecta of gorgeousness. Also, one of the main reasons I think loads of people volunteer is we're really, really passionate about our community and talking to young people in schools about our community. I think maybe some of the other volunteers in the room can vouch for this, but I often concoct a little maybe gays in the audience because they're just really excited that we're there, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But also they're really excited when they start to see all of their fellow students going, oh, so much, they're kind of cool with this as well, it'll be okay. And yeah, it mostly is. It's kind of hard to keep the habit of delivering workshops, and sometimes my job gets in the way, but it's a real check. I do love my job, but sometimes it gets in the way. I also really wanted to hang out more with cool LGBT people, like a lot of the people around today. So that was another reason I joined workshops. And even though delivering the workshops has changed drastically since 2018 when I started, there's been loads of other really cool things that happened because of COVID and like silver linings and stuff. One of those things was I got to help work on amazing resources that sort of ShoutOut started putting together partly to respond to the changing knowledge that young people have in schools now. Often their knowledge sometimes can exceed ours a little bit in workshops, which is always impressive when we're taking notes and remembering for the next workshop. But ShoutOut kind of responded to that and started working more on podcasts and resources, and I got to help with those, which was really fun. Unfortunately, I think my voice is used for one of those resource videos, so I'm so sorry. I'm just kind of glad they aren't like standard on all the workshop in-person workshops because. But yeah, young people's knowledge has really changed, and what's also changed along with some how we changed is their allyship for each other. I was delivering an amazing workshop one time when we were doing like a moving debate. So on one side of the room was yes, and on the other side of the room was no. And the question was, is your school a safe place to come out? And one student, most of them went to the no, it's not safe side, and a couple of students went to the yes, it is safe side. And one of the students on the yes side were like, oh, tell us your experience. And he was like, oh, well, I came out when I was 13, and the school was absolutely great. And all of his friends on the no side were like, absolutely not. Have you forgotten how bad it was? And he was like, oh, the school has just changed so much since I came out at 13, that he'd forgotten how bad it had been because it had then gotten so much better. Which I was like, that's a really, really beautiful story, friend. Also coming out at 13, that's impressive. But honestly, the best part of delivering workshops in the schools is talking to the young people and getting their experience of things and answering their questions. Like some of the questions are on the big wall, plastic wall, behind you. So I would highly recommend having a look at those because they are enlightening and really powerful in a lot of cases. And getting the chance to have that chat with the students is incredible, and you feel like you've definitely walked away having maybe changed a few minds, or at least started planting the seed of changing a few minds. And I often explain it, again, I'm kind of like a visual thinker as well, but I sort of compare it to, the game Sims, where you had like those bars at the bottom of the screen, which was like hunger, sleep, all this stuff. I have a queerness one, and the workshop always like puts the bar to maximum because you leave the school going, oh my god, yeah, that was amazing, and young people are so cool and they know so much, and they've changed a little bit and grown a little bit, and so have we, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful experience. I realise now I'm just basically plugging all of these. Most of all volunteers. You ever hear me like go on the road and like pitch more volunteers? How do you do that? But it's really the young people and the experience that keeps me coming back for more and more workshops. And even during lockdowns, those workshops were kind of the highlight in a lot of my days because lockdown it's not very entertaining and it's not very clear. But the workshops definitely were, and listening to the kids' responses just lifted my heart and my soul, and it was absolutely incredible. So thank you, ShoutOut, for letting me still do workshops.
One queer event without talking about the Sims. I'm so jealous of these young people. I'd love to go to those workshops. Coming in at 13, for God's sake. I was like still like 21, still going around like, oh, you fellas see that Rihanna video? What a piece. Now we're going to hear from the top dog, and that's important. So I'm very pleased to welcome one of the best hair in the room. Actually, I covered it so much because that's what mine used to look like. But welcome, please. I'm Stuart Hoare, and the director, Ruan O'Connor.
I'll try and keep this relatively brief because I'm nowhere near as funny as Shane, Kate, or Minister. But I just want to look a little bit further back to 10 years ago, which I began, to give you a little bit of context for the history, give you a bit of an idea of how far we've come, which we kind of speak to in the annual report, but queers love nostalgia, so I'll talk about it in a second. So ShoutOut was started 10 years ago by a small group of friends, not long out of secondary school, in their late teens and early 20s. Recently out as LGBTI+, and their happiness and freedom in that moment finally left the closet was in real contrast to the loneliness and the isolation that they felt when they were at school. I actually got involved with ShoutOut around that time. One of the staff here asked me if I'd been involved for all 10 years of ShoutOut, and I said yes, and he said, oh, congratulations on your 21st birthday. So please tip your servers, they're amazing in the art. And I remember just how kind of scrappy it was, how frightening it was to be starting out and having those conversations. At that time, the founders had all kind of graduated from a range of schools, patronages, right across the Irish system, co-educational, single-sex, even though, to be honest, there's not necessarily such a thing as a single-sex school. There are trans and non-binary people everywhere, so that system is not long for this world, hopefully. Fee-paying and non-urban and rural, and not one of those founders have received any positive messaging, like so many of us, from their school around LGBTI+ identities. None of them at the time had dared to consider that they might be safe from out to their peers. They'd all waited until they left because they understood that school was an inherently hostile place to anyone perceived as queer. being seen even as different from market events to target from homophobic and transphobic. So the friends who started ShoutOut around that time came to understand a few things, which unfortunately still hold true for many LGBTI young people today. First, they came to understand that the closet robs a lot of us of the adolescence that we deserve and that we want. That while we wait for the courage to come out, LGBTI plus young people miss out on the experience that our peers enjoy, and the chance to fall in love, make a lot of mistakes, and get to know ourselves. They understood at the time too that it felt impossible to find that courage when you've no role models to look to. When no one around you is willing to even speak about what it might mean to be lesbian, gay, bi, definitely not trans in 2012, except in careless jokes and very harsh words. Crucially, they realised that it shouldn't have to be that way for any LGBTI young person in Ireland, and they decided to make change. So they reached out to just 10 schools in Dublin first, and they asked if they could come in and deliver a workshop to transitioning students, just to tell their stories and start a bit of a positive discussion about LGBTI plus identities that might not be happening in the classroom. They were very, very cautious. They were very, very nervous. They had no idea how schools would respond, how students would respond, if they'd be willing to even begin those conversations, or if they'd be pushback. And at the time, they learned that schools were very eager to support the students. They didn't really know how. And students were curious and they were supportive, but they had no idea what their LGBTI peers were facing day to day. That's around the time I got involved in 2013, 2012. My peers were starting ShoutOut around the time. They rang me up and they said, would you be interested in going back and doing a workshop in your old school? And I said, absolutely not. I was miserable at school. I hated the place. I left at the end of third year and I never looked back. And they said, well, we're sorry, you're off tomorrow. We've got your dark ticket. Enjoy! And I found that things had changed a lot. And the students were hugely supportive. But I still couldn't stop thinking about how much I hated the place. And I still couldn't stop thinking about the experience that I had. So I decided to stick around. And over the years, demand from schools across the country grew, and to date we've delivered over 2,000 workshops with over 67,000 students. We're still so grateful to those first schools who brought us in to speak with their students in 2012, to schools who joined our network in the past 10 years, to the many wonderful, inspiring, very energetic teachers who've been so committed to supporting their LGBTI students. Most of all, we're really grateful to our incredible volunteers like Kate and some other folks in this room. In our first year, we began training volunteers from the LGBTI community to share their stories, experiences, to engage with young people, spark empathy, and explore allyship. And they all, unfortunately, came to ShoutOut with the same very painful experiences of secondary. But luckily, with the same motivation and incredible drive to try and make things better for the next generation. Over 400 of those volunteers have told their stories in schools, and for our first 5 years, we were an entirely volunteer organisation, which is tricky to us. Tomorrow night, we'll have a new cohort of volunteers joining us in training in Outhouse, and they're still very much the heart of our organisation. It takes so much courage to step back into a classroom and explain what being LGBTI has meant for you, how scary those classrooms might have been for you when you were a teenager, and to navigate sometimes challenging conversations and answer sometimes inappropriate questions. The diversity of our volunteers' identities, backgrounds, experiences have given so many students a chance to meet someone with a story that might resemble their own. We're so grateful to every volunteer who's visited the schools to deliver a workshop. And if you're in this room, it's because you've also been a part of ShoutOut's story in some small way. By collaborating us, offering us guidance, supporting our mission by spreading awareness, raising funds, or just giving your valuable time. We're really grateful to the support of various organisations within this room, and to the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth for their support down the years as well, to support our work with young people across the country. We're still a very, very small organisation in many ways, so every bit of help continues to make the difference. We've never had more than 3 staff members. Hopefully one day we will. But we still feel like a bit of an army because we've so many people around us. We owe a huge thanks to anyone who's part of that tiny team, who's volunteered with us during the committee, or lent their expertise to our work. As people have become more visible in public life, as LGBTI people have become more visible, as we've seen the relief of marriage equality and the Gender Recognition Act, it did feel as though things were only going to get better, as though we might never have any more work to do. But unfortunately, these things feel a little bit less certain this year, because we've seen so much pushback, because we've seen a rise of homophobic and transphobic violence, and especially the anti-LGBTI plus and anti-trans rhetoric online, in person, and in the media. And the young people we meet in schools are really feeling the effects of that pushback on a daily basis. It still remains a very difficult place to be yourself in school, and LGBTI young people still struggle with the weight of the shame that comes with it. Their peers still don't really understand the impact their words and actions could have to harm or to people. We so often, unfortunately, hear from students that they'd stop making the jokes if someone came out, which doesn't really get to the heart of why people aren't coming out. Teachers are still really eager to support their students, but they're very busy, and they're a little bit pressed by the new wave of backlash that they're seeing as the community as well. They're struggling to respond to very toxic anti-LGBTI rhetoric and to address misinformation and hateful attitudes. So we have expanded and adapted our services to try and better resource those teachers and school staff, to support any other organisations who might be working with young people, to guide conversations with parents and guardians who are important in this piece too. And we've never been more aware that it takes collaboration right across the community to try and safeguard the equality that we have. We've witnessed that ongoing increase in demand, and though we do have such robust and dedicated support, we are still struggling to meet those demands on occasion and to ensure that every young person has that opportunity to meet an LGBTI volunteer who might have a story that affect their own, who can offer some hope and encourage their classmates to become allies in their school. So today, as we celebrate, thank everyone so much, and reflect on the work that has taken place over the past decade, we are looking to the future too, and we do hope that you will continue to kindly and generously stand with us, support our services, spread awareness of our work, and keep safeguarding the future of inclusion and LGBT. And I'll actually say
the loveliest launch report by an NGO I've ever been to in my life. Take that on, Tishka. Look, just to begin with those numbers again, was that 2,000 workshops to 67,000 young people? That deserves a round of applause. Obviously, all the volunteers donate all their time, and time is a beautiful thing to donate. But what's even better is money. So if anyone knows any rich people, put them in touch with ShoutOut because money is always good. A fourth staff member you're holding out for. The desk boss doesn't have afford a salary, so if anyone could dig deep on that one. Just a few, I wish you all thanks very much for coming and celebrating with ShoutOut, and I hope you all have a lovely afternoon. Just with housekeeping, there is barely any oat milk left, so and there's a lot of cow's milk there. Thank you very much, and congratulations for 10 years of ShoutOut. Thank you very much.